welcome. Thank you for joining us. You're watching OBN Horn of Africa. This program is dedicated to Ethiopian Christmas. Today we're going to talk about a custom, tradition, virtue, wisdom, and other related stuffs of Ethiopia on this edition. I joined a poet and playwright, Ayalneh Mulat, a well-known singer and humanitarian, Zelleka Gessese, and a very senior prominent artist, Chachi Tadesse. She's a philanthropist as well. It's a pleasure to have you guys. All right, we are here to talk about Ethiopian Christmas, about Ethiopian culture, tradition, custom, values, and so forth. And let's begin with this question. Why do Christians celebrate Xmas or Christmas?
Thank you for inviting me here. Why Christians celebrate the Christmas day? It's because of the born of Christ. We have connected this Christ's birthday. I think we are the first who started celebrated in Africa, African Christmas, and because of Christianity also came from Ethiopia, to Ethiopia long time ago, earlier. So because of this, we are still celebrating Christmas.
Yes, of course, Ethiopian Christmas is January 7th. It's due to the calendar change with the other side of the world, the Roman Empire. And it's interesting, we celebrate it more religiously, not materially like the West does. Our celebration focuses on church going. We bake bread. Of course, we slaughter sheep or goat or whatever. And we play Yeganna Chawata, which it's like polo really, but it's not on a horseback. So that's a unique part of it. It's more religious in Ethiopia than, as Ayalneh said, we accepted Christianity in the 4th century, earlier than most Europeans or any part of the world, So like he said, we're the first in Africa to celebrate Christmas with its own date, which is different from the other part of the world. Orthodox Christian, of course, the Russians. Ayalneh, you were in Russia, and at one time. You said you speak Russian too. Yes, so Russian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox, the Orthodox denomination celebrates it on January 7th.
It's my turn, yeah. Well, I just want to add a little bit what Zelleka said about our Christmas. I think it's really the truth what he said. Christmas for us is not about Santa Claus or giving material stuff. I grew up in Germany when I was very young. When I was about 8 years, when I went to Germany for about 5 years. So I've really learned the European Christmas, how they celebrate, and I got used to that as well. But so when I went to the States, continuously I have learned how they celebrate Christmas in a materialistic way. So, but still within deep inside my soul, I'm an Ethiopian, and I've always looked to celebrate the Ethiopian Christmas, not the European Christmas. So January 7, we call it Ethiopia Christmas. So in the States back, we buy injera, we cook, we do the cultural coffee, and we invite family, or we go to people's house. And so still we have the Christmas tree, but but the celebration is more by loving one another, looking for one another, forgiveness, visiting, such and so on, so on. So, and I believe right now in the States we have taught to our children to celebrate, and we have shown them how to celebrate the Ethiopian Christmas. And in another way, when you look at it, I'm a Christian, So for me, Christmas is celebrating the one only Christ has born for us to save us from this sin world. So I believe in that. So for Christmas for me is that it's like my daughter's birthday was in December, so I celebrate her birthday. So for Christ, for me, I celebrate his birthday in a way where I do forgiveness, I do loving and giving for those who are looking for certain love and, in another way too. Yeah.
Okay, let me add one question for you. What is the correlation between the Santa Claus and Christmas tree of the Christmas holiday?
Like I said, Western countries, they always add a new thing into an old culture tradition. So Santa Claus is like I said, when I was in Germany, living in Germany, grew up in Germany, in German, they celebrate Santa Claus more than they do in the States. More. They look for Santa Claus. They are teaching the children or the kids how to look for Santa Claus, that he will deliver some material, gifts. Now, kids, they always dream for a new thing, like they want a car, playing toys and video games and so on. So the parents will always tell them, pray to Santa Claus and he will deliver for you. So it ended up being more Santa Claus kind of cultural religion, a celebration all the day, instead of, the truth, who's born Christ for me. So I don't know, Zalaka, maybe can I?
Yeah, Santa Claus is a fairy tale, really. It's a fairy tale.
Does that Santa Claus and Christmas tree has a religious or biblical implication?
Not really. It's a fairy tale, like I said. And then in time, it became very materialistic. I mean, the West, the most trade, the most business is done in Christmas time. It became like no more religious. It's kids wait for Santa Claus, which is a fairy tale. I don't think it has anything to do with the real birth of Jesus Christ. What it is, it comes from the North Pole. I mean, so it has some kind of influencing the rest of the world to kind of look up north. It's became like the whole world will look to the northern hemisphere, too.
I think Santa Claus is like more believing of delivering some kind of material to the world. He's coming in Saragala, with a lot of, when you look at mostly the Western movies in the Christmas time, now they have started changing. It's more like celebrating at home, forgiveness, loving, and finding those who have lost, and then they go out now to the homeless people and they're feeding, and that's a wonderful thing they have started. But still that culture about Santa Claus is a fairy tale, like he said. It still stays within the people's mind that he will deliver toys and candies. What they do? They prepare cookies in the midnight. So they exactly. See, he said, I did it for my kids. So when you are young and they prepare milk and cookies for him to come at night and eat that. So the dad gets up late in the morning time, like midnight, dress up like a Santa Claus and eats the cookies and said, hello, I put the gifts under the tree, and he leaves. So the kids believe that's a true Santa Claus, I think.
The Santa Claus of Europeans, I think we have also some kind of connection with Ethiopian Santa Claus. Our Santa Claus is the head of the house. For example, during the Haile Selassie's time, Haile Selassie was the Santa Claus of the Addis Ababa people. They go in there, they I mean, they asked him to do anything and so forth. He gave them some kind of rewards to the leader. If you come to the rural area, like I don't know, in the other areas, the head of the house, like in every as a children, we are going. We went to that house and we sing, we praise him, and that man, the man who is in charge of the house, he came out, or we went to his places, and then he gave us something to eat, to money sometimes. Sometimes something like that, and we can compare the Santa Claus with the head of the family in the house. That's really very important to mention this also.
We will get back to the Christmas question later on. Now we are going to talk about your career and career accomplishment. You see, you've been in the music industry for a long time, right? Could you tell us, I mean, the initial point where you started music and your accomplishment you did so far?
Music for me was my past life. Actually, when I was young, I went to German school. So I studied the German since the kindergarten. So I grew up in music. I was really focused on the music side. I was in the choir and a vocal and piano. So I had that opportunity for me to grow more on the artistic side because it wasn't within me. It's a gift from God for me, you know. I'm not just an artist, but I do the designing, I do the fashion, I do hair, makeup, everything was inside. But I got that opportunity when I went to the States to continue my career, to continue my dream. And that has given me more, facilitated me more within the artist side. So living in LA, I found many good artists from Africa and Jamaica that I can join them playing on the stage and creating Amarinya lyrics, Amarinya into reggae and African sound. So and it was, I think, the right time for me, right between the Mengistu time and the change between to the next. That was the right time for people to get something that could lift them up, I think. So it was very difficult for me to make the person who bought the CD or the cassette for me told me, oh, you know, they're not going to listen to reggae, Amarinya, you know, Abesha likes more the cultural, the traditional stuff. But I told them, you know, it's not the problem. It's not about money. I just want like the change. And it happened. So my first album, I think I was sold millions, I believe, because it went down to the gutter side, to the Harar, the Radio Amors, mostly to the Amara part and the Oromia side. And it was just an international kind of language for me. An Ethiopian artist that my own people have supported me. And so that what it has lifted me up to do the international stage. In Zelek, I have played with them. We performed band with the Dalol. He can tell you a little bit. Yeah. And then after that, Gize came, and then that would be another step for me to break the ice, to go around the Caribbean side, more the States part, outside the Ethiopian community. So since then, for 30 years, I have pushed the Ethiopian music around the world.
I mean, your music inclined to the reggae inclination, right? How's that, right?
Well, I don't want to say that I'm the first one because I know that Dalol has done many good music with the Ziggy Marley and the Bob Marley son. But around the Ethiopian community with Amharic language into reggae and African beat, I believe I was the first one to break the ice. So there are many other artists now you have seen that I have come up with the reggae beat, but still keeping the Ethiopian language, Ethiopian lyrics.
Oh, mine is going to sound too long.
It doesn't matter.
Well, my music started in when I was 8 years old in Gore, Ilubabor zone, Western Ethiopia, and I was born in Gore. Yes, my dad was a tax collector, so we lived there, and I was active in school when I was young, and I think music was a gift in me that I discovered. So since we were very active in the school area, it's a very famous school, by the way. Many very important people have come out of that school. And then at 8, me, my brother Mulugeta, who was part of the Dalol band, and Malakurata, the three of us were scouted to do a Christmas carol for an American Protestant mission. I don't know how they just like
Christmas Carol.
yeah.
There is a book entitled Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Gosh, there is a book, right? By Charles Dickens. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. You adopted that name from yeah.
So we could sing 3 different notes at that age, and we coded. And before the concert, the show, Christmas, the European Christmas. It's an American mission, and we became famous at that age, you know. So that's the beginning. Then when I got to 6th grade, I was scouted to a theater group in the school, theater drama club. In fact, Ato Abona Shagweg, Shayelne, you know him. He was our mentor there. I mean, he was a senior, and I played in a play when I was in 6th grade, and I was a house worker, help. And what I do is my part is when I'm ordered to do something, like go bring that dish or do this or get the cows in or whatever, I'm singing. That's my part. So when I did that, I figured out, I mean, I can do this thing. It's in me. So that's the beginning. Then I came to Addis for high school, and we formed a Dalol band. In fact, our first show was at Lycée Gavramariam. Third show was at German school. You probably saw us. You may not, not remember. No. I know. So the Dalol band was created in Addis, and we played all the colleges. I mean, it was few, all the high schools here. Graduation. We played school day and all that. So we played Western music, mostly. You know, James Brown, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, Fela Kuti, West African, Hugh Masekela, South African, very Pan-African. And then when the revolution started, we moved into the clubs because schools were trouble. Because too much, the schools were being closed, open. And so when we started doing the clubs, we started doing multilingual Ethiopian, Orominya, in Orominya, in Walaita. We started doing Walaita, Guraginya, Amarinya, Tigrinya. These are the major languages. Sure. Yes, there you go. That's where this is. I mean, if I had to mention the year, I mean, gosh, I know my correct 40 years ago. Well, I was in high school, where we got very famous. Then a singer called Ayario Masfin, he was looking for a young student band so he doesn't have to pay a lot, the professionals. So he took us and we toured Ethiopia twice. Every state, every town, every place. It was amazing. For me, it's the greatest experience of knowing my people, my country. It's so beautiful, diverse. Then while we're doing that, we wanted to go into college for music, to come up. We didn't go to school here either, music school. Yared was open at that time, but we didn't go. So schools were closed because of the revolution. So we headed out to the States, walking through the desert and all that stuff. That time. We were, I hate to say it, but we were refugees. I don't want to encourage the young people nowadays. Don't do it. It's not good, you know. We played in Djibouti for a little bit. Then we ended up in Chicago because our brother was there. We got in Chicago. That's when we met Chachi too. After we came back from Jamaica, we met up with Stevie Wonder. He really loved us. The kind of stuff we were doing is Pan-African, reggae is in it. You know, our lyrics are about Africa Unite and all that. So he made us a demo tape, and we spread that around the world. And one of them reached Bob Marley's family. He has died a year ago, a year before that reached. And his family wanted us as Ethiopians because it was Bob Marley's dream to perform with Ethiopian artists. And his kids were coming up, so his wife, Miss Rita Marley, gave us a contract, moved us to Jamaica. We left college. We were learning music and business. That's how it started. So then after we met with the Marleys, we went into the reggae fully. And we won 2 Grammys and sold multi-million albums. And we came back to Chicago, early 90s. That's when Chachi joined us because we were all boys. we needed a girl, you know. And Chachi was beautiful. She was talented. Yes, she's still beautiful. I don't. Gosh, he correct. No, I said at that time. You got me in trouble, Gashayal. Oh no. And she added such a color because she was doing the international thing too at that time, you know, outside. She was more, in fact, more popish than reggae at that time. Then she got into the reggae with us. I think he spent a year or 2 years. Yeah, 2 years in Chicago. Then she moved to Chicago where we were. She was very disciplined. I really admire her. She used to work out every day. She keeps her diet, and we were like, oh, this is upper class. She said, no. Yeah, she does. Yeah, I know she's a yogist. Yeah, she does yoga and all that stuff. And so that all continued. Then we kind of branched out because certain of us wanted to do the Ethiopian music in reggae. Some of us wanted to do more pop, so the band split. So one became Gize, and the other one became Dalol, Manu Baro, and Baro became my band, and Zaleka came out of that. So that's the synopsis. Then in Chicago, we had won a bid to open a club, which is a very famous reggae club. I ran that for almost 25 years, and now I'm here.
Some of Ethiopian artists, have inclination to the Jamaican songs, particularly the reggae genre. Why such connection created? Yeah.
Good question. Reggae, yes, it's a good question. Reggae it came out of the Rastafarian movement. The Rastafarian movement traces its roots back to Africa. When they're looking back to Africa, because the Western African heritage people
even the Jamaican adore Haile Selassie.
That's questionable. Yeah, that's a Western myth. Yeah, it's a Western myth. What it is they see him as a spiritual leader. Yes. You know, there are sections in the Rastafarian movement. There is 12 Tribe, International Rastafarian movement. And Bongo and Nabingi, 3-4 different sects in the. But it's a movement. It's black people's movement looking for their roots. No, for roots. Yeah. You know, the West. In the West, you know, the black people there, they don't know where they came from during the slavery. African Americans, Brazilians, Jamaicans, the whole Caribbean. Trinidad, the whole Caribbean, yeah, and you know, they were looking for their roots because they didn't know for 400 years. They don't know where they came from, what their roots is. So when they read the Bible and they see Ethiopia mentioned there for 40 times, it's Africa. So they said, oh, that's home. That's where we come from. So the beginning of the Rastafarian movement is that, which became the black movement after all, because Martin Luther, okay, now if I rewind back a little bit, the Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, it was opened in in New York, Harlem, New York, in 1870s, 80s, 1870s. So 3 races from Ethiopia were sent to America to buy arms. And then one day they go to church, with their kabbas and the whole regalia of the Ethiopian traditional clothes. They were told they can't go through the front to the church, through the front door. These 3 races. I mean, they represent the country. They said, why? They didn't understand the white-black racism there. And because these 3 wise men suggested to certain African-American preachers that they should open their own church. Why should they be, be discriminated in the house of God? So Abyssinian Baptist Church was opened in that time. Martin Luther King preached there. Malcolm X used to go there. All the African leaders, President Obama made a speech there, a sermon there. It became a landmark of the African American. So that comes to connection to Ethiopia. The Rastas found, the Rastafari movement found Ethiopia in the Bible. They read the Bible a lot. I mean, they more than anybody in the world. They just dissect the Bible, and they really, the Rastas.
Do they compare Christ with Haile
No, they don't.
I'm asking.
There are a few sects in the movement might think like that. The second coming, the second coming is an African. That's their saying. But most of them, whom I know very well, believe that he's a spiritual leader. Just like, Haile Selassie. He's a spiritual leader who will free them up. So in the 1960, His Majesty Haile Selassie went to Jamaica. It was a miracle. It was 3 years drought, and when his plane came, there was a cloud with it.
Coincidence.
It could be. Yeah, that's my belief. It could be a coincidence. But the biggest thing is when he looked at them and they were really worshiping him, he said, okay, now we got to baptize these people to Ethiopian Orthodox Church because they're lost. Okay. Yeah. Majority. Yeah. Majority. Or Bob Marley's family, the whole of them. I mean, Ziggy was a deacon when I first met him. He was like 12 years old. Abba Ishaq, who was the first pope of Western Hemisphere, from that time, he just passed away a few years ago in New York, Abba Ishaq. He was a cousin of Papa Paulos. And he established about 35 different churches, all of the islands, about 10 or something in the U.S., different states. So the Rastas, in Bermuda, my brother got married in Bermuda at Disu, and they preach in Giz. They're Bermudans. They have studied Giz, and they preach in Giz, just like the churches here, Orthodox. So it's more than just believing Haile Selassie. The West doesn't appreciate the African Americans looking to Africa, because they could change a lot of things here. Because most of the West wants Africa to stay where it is. They don't want us to grow. So that's part of the whole.
Just tell us about Europe. You're a playwright and poet and a lecturer. And tell us about your literary works as well.
I don't have a long story like this. Diasporas, because my proof. I have been working with playwriting and poets, and I'm a Lamebora, of course. I have never been. Well, I have been outside, but I have never lived. I went there as a student, not as a diaspora. Well, I have been there. You came. Well, well, I used to write. I mean, my profession is writing, and I have been working with playwriting, and I'm also a poet. That's what everybody called me. One of three poems, my play has been staged in London and in Edinburgh Fringe Drama Festival. It has been staged for 23 days. It was very popular. And one of my play also translated in Russian, and then it has been staged in Moscow. That's all my story. Well, I used to create a new kind of musical play, and two of them. One of the play that I have wrote during the dark time, Tiglachin. It has been staged in Nigeria for world, what do you call it, Festac, yeah, exactly. That's my play, yeah, and it has been also staged in Cuba. They invited the play, and for 2-3 months, led by Haymanot Alemu, and it was very successful. And the other one is People to People, one of my play. It has been going all over the world internationally. That's all. That's my work. A lot of my play has been staged in National Theatre, Agar Fikr, Behrawi, and so on and so forth.
Could you tell us, I'm doing your job. Could you tell us about the beauty of people? It shows the color of Ethiopia. You know, me and you have spoken a couple years back. We may have to do that again. Then it was for more or less for the international audience.
Yeah.
Now we need it for
Ethiopian.
the young generation here.
Well,
That unity and color of our diversity. And
we have already started, but I think so. Can you make it? I mean, can you realize that I have done everything? I have the play. I have written the play. The play already ready. It was written long time ago, and I have forward to my minister, the Minister of Culture. It is in their hand, and all the budgets has been already organized with Addis Ababa University professionals, and now we are still waiting for go ahead. And I think you people are going to participate also in this process. We have to. You have to.
Do you have any? I mean, an English poem?
I don't write in English or in Russian. I used to write in Amharic, and a lot of 2 or 3 volumes has been translated into Russian and English also, but I didn't write it in English or in foreign language.
Chachi, I'm going to ask you another question. Look, Ethiopia is named as a land of origin, right? And Ethiopia has its own calendar, its own alphabet, orthography, right? And never invaded by foreign aggressors, isn't it? Has a very indigenous democratic system, which is called a Gada system. You see? This all makes Ethiopia very unique, right? What do you feel about being an Ethiopian?
I'm always been proud for who I am. Always been proud through my music, through my fashion, supporting, other people and telling them a story about Ethiopia through my music or anybody I found. I lived in Jamaica, they have, since they've been with the Marley, they lived in Jamaica as well. And after that, for about 3-4 years, I've been back and forth living in Jamaica because they keep inviting me back so I can, relate to them or they can relate to me. And every time I'm there, I'm always wearing Abesha lips. I'm always with my Abesha scarf. They respect me. They always call me the queen. The queen. because, like he said, you know, they looked for a country where they can relate, the Jamaican people. So the Rastafarianism through the Haile Selassie stuff, I don't believe it. It happened. I mean, Haile Selassie was there, the rain came up, fine, that's good. I mean, it did. But that's the Western people thinking. But for me, is when I talk to them, most of the very educated Rastas, and they're very much reading this history of Ethiopia, not only the Bible. So they challenge me sometimes, and I learn a lot from them about who I am, and it gives me the confidence, you know, to keep doing what I'm doing. I have performed many different countries in the Western country, in the Jamaican stage or jazz or African festivals, and I've always had my flag and the Ethiopian green, yellow, red. It's one people I always believe, one people. Never had between the conflict like the Tigray, Oromo, Amara, that never been within me, never been. I grew up in Addis Ababa. I've always traveled to Bishoftu because my dad had a farm. So we always go over there. I had a lot of friends that I learned how to speak Orominya, and they learn how to speak Amarinya. You know, for me, it's like Kotu, whatever. Those language was like, I'm proud to have it part of me, you know. So, and then like Eritrea, I went to Eritrea when I was young, you know, and I went to Gurage, part of the Gurage places, and I've always, let me tell you something. You know the song called Rambose? Rambose, ha, Rambose. This is just the first, the debut song that me and Gashaba Ramola wrote the song. And then I went to Jamaica, and I said, I need to record this in a huge way. And so there is a guy called Ras Mike. He has a huge studio in Orchard. So he said, come on, you do an album. So that was the Hoya Hoya album was done in Jamaica. And when you listen to Hoya Hoya album, it has a variety of a different music in Orominya, Tigrinya, Amarinya, Guraginya, everything, even Debu, Rambose. So that was my first album that I put all the one people in one. I will.
You will play it later, right? Okay. Yes. Do it now. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, ha, oh yeah, ha. You know, they played at the stadium sometimes when they play games. Yeah, it's an anthem. So, you know, I'm so proud for who I am, and nobody will take that away from me.
Zali, do you add some?
Yeah, well, Ethiopia is the origin of mankind in every aspect. You'll help me with literature, writing, music scoring. Everything was here. It started from the Nile civilization, which is our own calendar. Yeah, we've never colonized. And, you know, at one time, which thanks for doing that song, Chachi, the whole of Africa, of course, you know, I always say with our young politicians these days, the intellectual, what do you call them, Muhuran.
Prime Minister says,
Yes.
we are doing our democracy in our way.
Yes, because there is Gada system, there is Auchaching, there is in every part of the country, there are similar ways of management and administration. By the way, Ethiopia is the first republic in the world. The first republic, the first government system is in Ethiopia, is the first one. It's been written. I don't know. I read a few books at Dr. Abraham Damoz's library in Chicago, Northwestern University, and I was lucky enough, Professor Ephraim Isaac, yes, he's a historian too. In his library, he's got a beautiful library in Princeton. Yes, I've read that. And we are the founding of human civilization, honestly. Because, the Nile civilization, which starts from Abai, from Tana, Gojam, that area. Yeah, it's all in the Bible, yeah. And then you mentioned the Gada system, the so-called democracy these days in the West has been practiced here thousands of years ago. Yeah, years ago. So, but, the West's domination, of course, came slavery, then they destroyed then came colonialism. When they came for colonialism, they said, oh, we're going to civilize Africa. Yeah. They took everything we had here, medicine. There's still medicine. Yes, yeah. Kokab Kotari. In America, it's called, yeah. Obviously, there is in Orominya too. You're too young to know, but it might be there. In Orominya too. Because even the
astrology, I mean, our priestess know the so-called, what we call it, the horoscope. There is a magazine and news. Yes, Kokop, that's Kokop Kotari, yeah. Yes. It's sure. No, it's part of Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Yeah, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, because they even the farmers, these people, they read the position of the stars. This is like we're talking about 1,000 years ago. They read the position of the stars. Yeah. So civilization started here for me. Like our first album, our name the band was Dalol. Dalol, there is no place in the world like Dalol is now. It's so rich. It's the lowest point on earth and the hottest place in the world. So it's it works for a band. We're hot. And the first album was Land of the Genesis. That's our first album, produced by Rita Marley, and you were part of it. Land of the Genesis. We were trying to say to the world in those days, yes, the world was looking at us, famine, civil war, and, all the student movement, they were trying to change the poverty to bring us out of poverty, but ideology came and they all ended up dying and finished.
The uniqueness of Ethiopian civilization, we are starting writing on our manuscript, not only in Sabinya, also in Greeks. Mm-hmm. You can find a Greek alphabet in our manuscript. This is really very important because Ethiopia, during that time, she spoke Sabinya, at the same time Greek also. So the Greek civilization and Ethiopian civilization, they were parallel, Yes. Maybe our first, because if you just took the religion, our religion is first than the Greeks one. The Greeks, yeah. Secondly, our Jandaraba, who went to Jerusalem, he used to read Isaiah. In which language? We don't know. It might be in Greek or in Sabinya. That's also very important. Muse has been in Ethiopia for a long time. Yes. He married Ethiopian girl. And he organized Moses, yeah. He organized the Israels in such a way that he taught it from from Ethiopians, what do you call it, Amaj. In-laws. So that tradition, that also has to be considered, that we have some kind of influences on exactly on and if you came to this time, you remember the conductor that the Europeans are using. Yes. They took it from our Makwamia, Oh. I don't know whether you are musicians, you might have studied a lot. Yared has started writing music notation. We had the first also before. We did that before Beethoven or all of them. So this is very important, but we don't study we don't even defend our cultural heritage, you know. This is one of the important things what we have to see it. The unity, the uniqueness of Ethiopia, if you, as I already mentioned, the skill, yes. The Anchihoye, the five tunes, you can find it in Oromifa, you can find it in Somalia, you can find it in every Ethiopian. That also united Ethiopia very, very strongly, you know. And the costume also, the farming, what the people are still farming, were on the same marasha and the same. This kind of unity that Ethiopia has been created not by man, it's also by nature. Nature also has already connected this country together.
You're working on charity stuff, right?
I've been doing charity for 25 years till today. I mean, right now I'm really rushing to go to Awasa because the graduation at the university, 3,000 students are graduating tomorrow. So I'm one of the speaker to speak about my charity work as well, not only music. So, well, in the past 25 years, I've started working with the street children, trying to figure out why we are increasing street children, which is now getting more and more, and they are into a drug. At that time was not much about drug. They were much about looking for food and surviving, but now it's more drug and alcohol. So it's going to be difficult right now to not, you know. But HIV, newborn kids, adoption, going different places and creating school. It's many things that have involved.
Zale, just tell us about your humanitarian activity.
My humanitarian activity started in Gore again. When I was in elementary school, I joined the Boy Scout Club, and every weekend we used to go out cleaning up the neighborhoods, supporting very poor families in Gore. That's when it started. Then when I came to Addis, I followed up the same route because my older brother was a scout trooper. Yeah, and then I did a lot of charitable work when I was young. When I went to the States, in fact, the main one started during the famine in Ethiopia, the first one, 1974, no, in European calendar, 74, yeah. We did all the school bands, we came together, the high school bands, and we wanted to do a very big festival of music to raise fund for Wollo. The biggest drought was in Wollo. And we called it Wollo Stock, like there was Woodstock in the States and for peace and revolution. So we did Woodstock, Wollo Stock, but you know, their government, because we are all singing Western music, they canceled on us the day of the show after we've sold like 10,000 tickets. So that's when the nucleus started. When I went to the States, when we were on top of the world, winning the Grammys and touring the world and selling multi-million albums, and we were on top of the world musically with the Marley family. In the meantime, we get back in our hotel room and open CNN or whichever station we're watching. It was civil war in Ethiopia and famine and people dying and killing one another. So I thought about myself. I wanted to come back to witness this, to observe this thing. I came back for Adwa's 100th anniversary, which was an amazing event. You were involved, I think, in that big drama, the theatrical presentation and all that. When I came back, I traveled around the country. Of course, I know the country. I told you earlier, we toured while we were young. It was a different country from when I knew it, maybe 20 years before that. The roads were bad, Kids were not going to school. I see a lot of kids in all small towns on the street. So I went back and talked to the Marley family with the kids, all the people, rich people I've met through the music industry. And I said we should help Ethiopia. So we figured out two, three things. Education was the best. So I came back again and did a research here, Ministry of Education, OAU at that time, UNICEF, all the people who were working, organizations working around education. And I figured the villages have shortage. You know, kids were walking 2 hours to school to get to school, especially in the southern Oromia region because of the density of the population, and up like towards Gondar too, where the population is big, but the school absorbing, is short. So I did that study, research, put together the whole proposal, went back and toured that. Professor Ephraim helped me. You know, Professor Ephraim Isaac, he's from Najo, I think, Western Ethiopia, Walaga, and he has started, his father is young, but his mom is a Oromo chief's daughter. Yeah, and he started Yetamaru Yastamuru, Fidel Sarawit, remember, in the 60s. So I went to him to Princeton, he was teaching there, and he told me who to get the money from. So he gave me a list of foundations. And I took Bob Marley's children and we went around the US, Europe, Israel, Germany. We collected like $1.5 million. So we came back and started the first schools. It was an interesting school building concept, which I figured out from Save the Children. They had done a few pilot programs in Mali and Senegal, which is the community is part of the building. They donate the land. Yes, we did four schools first in Borana. And the community gives the land, they bring wood, they bring stone, we do the rest. Because they become owners and they take care of the place. So we started at 4, then we went to 10, then we came around Addis. For about every year I come 3-4 times to check it out. And then the community, what they did to us is, when I go back to see how the school is progressing, they've already built 2 blocks of school. They said, now we're going to 6th grade. So you got to furnish it. You know, we charge them up. We inspire them to do the communities. Then the deal with the government is they give you a contract. We sign a contract to build, staff, equip the schools, and run it for 5 years and turn it to the government system. That's how we came. We started Borana, then we came to the middle of Ethiopia, then we ended up north in Gondar. So now we have 30 schools there, all up to 8th grade. And then when I come and visit at one school in, I think in Wenchi, I had my laptop on my hand when I was visiting. So this 4th grade student, she's a girl, she walked up to me, she said, give me that. I said, what is that? It's computer. I said, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to learn it. She was very impressive. So I took a picture of her with my laptop, and I took that up to the States, and I got 2,000 computers to be donated. So 1,000 went to Kenya, because I was working in Kenya too. 1,000 came to these schools. Now, out of the 30 schools we have, 13 of them have computer classes, from 5th grade to 8th grade. Now, while I'm coming back in some part of Oromia, there was water problem, you know. So the girls come late to school because they go to the river in the morning to fetch water for the family. And the teachers report to us, the family committee comes when I go to visit, they report to us. When they told me that, then I went back again, did a concert in Chicago in my club, and raised about $50,000 at that time to bore a hole and put a pump on it is like $7,000. So I did about 12 water wells in the schools. You know, it's an amazing change of society that I noticed. Now, fast forward, it's a long story. last year, I went to 3 of the closest ones to see what was the result. Yeah, how they operate and what happened to the first ones, because it opened 20 years ago. The status. So they read me the report. I do have the film. It's on my website. You can look at it. We have one by Sabata, outside of Sabata. We have one by Salale. We have one by Debrabran, like from in Addis's range, and we have one in Wanchi.
How do you select your technician?
Shortage, where population is big, and we go to talk to the Warada Ministry of. We go talk to the Warada schools. Save the Children does that for me. They go talk, and then they say, this year, first grade students who came to register were 4,000. The school can only take 600. So the rest are sent back home. So that's where we go and build in that area where there is shortage.
Finally, we would like to deliver our gratitude for Sapphire Addis Hotel for hosting this program by allowing us this podium, and we are very grateful to them once again. Thank you very much. Dear viewers, this brings you the end of our edition for today. Enjoy the rest of our program. Have a wonderful Christmas. Bye-bye.